All right. Hello and welcome to the KD Ratio podcast, your place for all things nerd. Tonight I am joined by Dylan and we are absent Kyle. We are having a great time. We had a great dinner. We had some great conversations. I'm back from my trip. Had a great time exploring the America. We'll leave it at that. Dylan, how have you been?
I've been great, and just been playing Cyberpunk a lot.
So I heard on the last stream.
So now I've beat it, and I'm bummed, as you've probably noticed by now. Kyle is not here. I am a little bummed that he's not here because I really wanted to discuss the ending with him because it is a really cool ending. But
He probably has 8 different takes on it.
yeah, I want to hear all his 8 different takes.
Which ending did you get?
So-
Spoilers.
Spoilers. You can either side with Idris Elba and the government, or you can save Songbird, which is
Probably the
she's the net
canon.
runner.
I know, but is that the canon option? to
I
save
don't
her?
think there's a canon option. The one that gives you the different ending is saving Reed, the Idris Elba. So if you save Songbird, there's no different ending to the game. I saved her just because it becomes a whole moral dilemma. The expansion is really good, Billy. So you don't know who to trust the whole time. And then even once you make your decision, you help her she's going to the moon to cure herself because she's also dying like you are. When you get there, she's dying.
They just rip the going to the moon like Edge Runners. We just playing on
Yeah.
those heartstrings.
She's like physically dying, like she's losing consciousness. And it's bad for her. You have your seizures, but you're doing okay. But you get her there, and right before she passes out, she tells you, because you were under the impression the whole time that she had a cure for both her and you, but she tells you, actually, I lied. The cure, there's only one cure.
Of course.
And then she passes out. And so it leaves you the decision. You can sell her out to Idris Elba again, or you can finish the mission and take her and put her on the rocket. And so I put her on the rocket because you need to play it to get all the context. And I wanted to see because he also saved Songbird. But the reason I did it is because in the expansion, you learn that this girl, she was recruited into the government at like 18. And what they've done to her is they made her like a tool, and they've like taken her body and just turned it. It's pretty much all robotic. And so they've used the crap out of her. And so like going into it to justify my decision, it's like all her life she's been used and she's never had anybody that helped her just to help her. And so when she's using V, your character, she still doesn't know how to trust somebody. And then I was like, I'll be the guy that you can actually count on. And then, yeah, so that's why I made the decision because, I don't know, it felt right. And V, the main character, I mean, I beat the game before, so I know I have hindsight. V does, in the character he doesn't, but it's like he has other options.
Well, if you turn her into Idris Elba or whatever, like, is he able to synthesize that anecdote and give it to a bunch of people, or is this unique disease that she's suffering from?
So the disease she's suffering from is there's this thing called the Black Wall, and it's the net in Cyberpunk is like another world you can jack into, and you can go there. And there's this thing called the Black Wall. And the Black Wall was constructed by Netwatch, I believe. I could be totally wrong, but it's like a physical barrier on the outside of the Black Wall. On the inside is just the net, just like where everybody can exist. And I don't know all you can do on the net, but it's crazy. Outside the Black Wall, though, is like unregulated AIs that are like scary. And so what her disease is the government made her go beyond the Black Wall, and an AI
Infiltrated her.
Infiltrated
and
her.
Someone is slowly corrupting her code.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, I mean,
All right.
her ending is really cool because you get to jack into her to help her with the neural load, and you get the AI's powers, and you can
But do you get to also jack into her?
No.
Oh,
No romance option with her, which is a bummer. But,
That is a bummer.
but yeah, you get to like fuck people up as using her powers. You just fry their brains by going like this, and they're like, ugh.
I kind of wish like Netrunner was just like a class option. I guess
You can. Now you can.
But, like, can you be that powerful though? or is she like
almost?
cranked? Yeah.
Almost, because like how they've worked it now, you can. Not on her level though. Her like the Blackwall AI is pretty crazy how powerful it is, but yeah, you're pretty close. And I mean, I would argue that my like where I'm at my V, it's to the point where
You're one-shotting everything.
I'm like bring it on. Like I can handle any amount of people you can throw at me. I can take them down.
Was there any notable boss fights or?
Yeah, so there's in the beginning there's this spider mech, really cool boss fight. You have to hit its arms, and it's really interesting if you're a melee build like I was, because like I have to get up close to this thing and hit it with my sword, and you do. And then there, depending what you choose for the ending, there's boss fights. With Songbird, with her ending, there's not really a boss fight, but Idris Elba comes out right before you get to the rocket, and you talk to him, and then you have like a Western shootout, and you pop him in the head, and he's dead.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How many hours was the DLC?
It's quite a bit. Main story though, I would say maybe 5 to 7 hours. But that's like like if you just do the main story. There's a whole bunch of side missions, gigs, a whole bunch of other content they've added. Like they've added there's a specific word for it, but it's like reoccurring stuff in the game. So like stuff for you to constantly do that never runs out. Like in Dogtown is where the expansion takes place. There'll be like these drop ships that drop a package, and you'll see it and you'll hear it, and you just drive into your next mission. You're like, oh sweet, and it's got good loot. You go there, there's enemies around it, you got to kill them, and then you hack in and you get the good loot, and that's just constantly happening. So it's a good, I like how they added that, because it gives you more reason to replay or just to keep playing.
I mean, Project Red, they spent, I read an article, like $150 million trying to make correct for the base game that they had shipped.
And oh boy, 2.0 is amazing.
Is amazing.
Too. So
see, it's amazing to me that they made all those corrections, and they stuck with it after it was received so poorly. It's kind of awesome that they still remained impassioned enough to fall in love again and continue to develop on it and make it better.
Yeah, and I mean they knocked it out of the park with 2.0, because I am so excited for like another Cyberpunk game, if it's going to be like this, with how they got all the systems working. But to touch on it too, like,
yeah, they could use this as like a beta test and then do all the stuff that they wanted to, right?
Yeah.
With like the multiplayer. Now they have true class systems, from what I understand.
Really good class systems too. So
that's cool.
Before the cyberware, you watched Edge Runners, you know, like Cyber Psychosis, right? So in the old game, V never really had to worry about that. And I mean, you don't have to worry about it in this one, but in 2.0, but in 1.0, you could just slot in any cyborg equipment and like
upgrade is an upgrade.
You just do it.
Yeah.
But now you have a cyberware capacity, and then you get a perk called Edge Runners, and it's got a picture of David. If you get that perk, it gives you an extra 50 points in the cyberware capacity. But if you go into that 50 points, you get a buff, or a chance for a buff, of Cyber Psychosis, where you're like extra strong, and the screen turns yellow, and you like hear crazy laughing, and you hear like whispers. And so
I love how it's a buff.
Yeah, it's a buff. In reality, it's because you're on the edge. You aren't going full Cyber Psycho, but that is such a cool mechanic now, because now it's like
an overload or adrenaline hit.
Yeah, and even there, the capacity limit, I have to think and sit there when I'm, putting the cyberware on, and think which ones I want, because I'm at my limit, and I need to decide which ones are more important to have.
Yeah, offering a new feature through restriction, which I love that when you get into that part of game design, because I think that's where games shine through the best, right? And they're just not allowing anything, because then you're always going to max out, and then that's not really a thought that you have to optimize. Now they add this sort of arbitrary limit for Cyber Psychosis, and now you can kind of play around with it, be a little more crafty with the builds, and then they can balance as
well. And there is a penalty for the Cyber Psychosis, so the more you go into it, the less health you have. So like,
I thought it was gonna be like lowered base intelligence or something. So you
yeah, no,
can't
no,
hack a
it's
door.
like, so I think if you go the full 50, it depends on what level you are, but like right now, I'm at my limit in the Cyber Psycho area, and it's like it tells me I have minus 196 health because of that.
Are certain upgrades worth more points towards the cyberpsychosis? Or
Yeah, so the capacity limit. So like for example, um, like this Sandivestin, the thing that David has,
the
that's
vest?
like 30 cyber psych or 30 cyberware points just to have that one thing. And so the bones, like the metal bones, the stuff that gives you armor, that's also pretty heavy cost.
You got to be kind of picky.
Yeah.
Definitely really picky.
And especially if you want, like, there's unique cyberware now, so like legendary. Those ones are really high. Those are like 50. So I have one in my brain, and I have a second one that I want to put in, but I don't have the limit for it.
Okay. How's the loot?
Loot, okay. It's good. I like how it is though, but I do have to say it's not
At
your
least something for
typical
desired.
loot game for like other people. Like I like it because I can find a weapon and I can upgrade it and I can stay with it. I don't have to constantly be changing what, I pick up a weapon. Oh, this is a good one. No, I can find a good weapon and just upgrade it with me.
It's like Elden Ring in that manner. Like the weapon you find in
Yeah.
Limgrave is going to be able to beat the game.
Yeah, and so like at this point, any loot I get is either to break down for crafting components or sell.
Okay.
So, but I mean, in the beginning, yeah, it's good because you don't have those legendary weapons yet that are really good that you want to upgrade. So you are switching around quite a bit. But once you get your legendaries, then I'm like, I have my build in place.
And you're just rolling with it.
Just, I murder.
That's the best when you hit that pace in a game and you still have like story left and you're
Yeah.
just like, okay, I'm already fully spec'd. I feel really confident in what I can do, and you just start smashing.
And it's so cool, the little stuff they added. Like the attention to detail they had. They added there's characters in the expansion that are in the main game, and their dialogue changes depending which order you do stuff in. So like there's this character called Lizzie Wizzy, and she's like a pop star. And she's in the expansion, and if you played her mission in the original game before the expansion, she recognizes you and gives you like a unique loot. But if you play expansion first and then you see her after, she has a line about it, but she's just like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it, and you're like, okay.
So they had to like kind of reverse,
Yeah.
correct some things in the base game for that. Oh, that's kind of neat. Anything else that you want to discuss about Phantom Liberty? Are you excited about Cyberpunk 2 now?
Oh yeah. I am kind of sad
You love
though.
the universe.
I love the universe, and I really like V. Like being able to spend time with V and Johnny. I do hope we get to see more of Johnny, Keanu Reeves, and V just as a character because you get to know them a lot. But it would be really hard to continue with V, and I get it because some of the endings he dies or he or she dies. But yeah, I'm really excited for 2, especially if they carry what they did here. I mean, this is the game that like when they were talking about Cyberpunk originally, I think this is the game they wanted to release, and it shows how good it is.
Yeah. It's a shame it just took
I
all
know.
that time to get there. I mean, they could have built on that for so many years.
I know. They had a planned multiplayer that got canceled, and
and then this being the only DLC for it.
I-
But they're not done with it, right? They're not done with
No.
it. They said something about Witcher 4.
There's Witcher 4.
So there's Witcher 4.
and there's
so-
Cyberpunk 2.
Yeah. Well, which one comes first? That's the question, right? Witcher
Yeah.
4.
I think probably Witcher 4, just
Which
because
I
of
actually don't think
development
that should-
time.
It should be that way. I think they should probably do Cyberpunk 2 first.
Well, because I think development wise, maybe Witcher because they were able to start it on Unreal sooner. Because they were still fixing Cyberpunk on Red Engine. but they had already decided to move away from that, and so maybe they're able to start Witcher on Unreal
Yeah.
in the meantime.
But the way I'm thinking of it is now Cyberpunk 2 is like a decade away.
Oh, I know.
You're not going to have like it's not going to be forgotten, but a lot of the energy around that universe, I think, if you came out with not that it needs to be a 7-8 year hype train like Cyberpunk 1 was, and I
Yeah.
think that they want to do their best to avoid that. But if they, if you just look at a development timeline, I think we're almost like a decade away from them delivering on that promise, which is sort of unfortunate.
What I will add, that's really cool. They had a super detailed like ARG. Do you know what an ARG is?
ARG,
Yeah, it's
like artificial.
I think it's augmented reality game.
Okay.
But in the original Cyberpunk, there was this puzzle, and it's called FF067B or something like that. And like it's a rabbit hole if you ever want to go down it. I don't know much about it, but it's like it required you to go to actual websites and use these decrypting things.
Alternate reality game.
Yeah. So it required you to just do a lot of puzzle solving, and it's so cool. And then they put it in the Witcher remake. They put more clues to it in the Witcher remake. And then in this expansion, they finally here we don't know if it's fully solved, but there's a lot that happens. There's a cutscene and a vehicle that you can get by following the clues and entering the stuff and going through it. And it's so cool that I miss that in video games, like cool stuff like that, like
Easter eggs.
Yeah, and it's like it's not going to show up on a mission. It requires, now you could look it up online and they have all the answers.
Steps, yeah.
But it requires you to know how actual encrypting works and coding and just crazy shit.
They crowdsourced people together got on a forum and solved these puzzles.
There's a
over
whole
months.
subreddit, yeah.
And what are they like? Is that how they tease the next game, or is that how they what do they?
So they don't really know what
it's leading to.
What it's leading to right now. What it seems like is that that the universe, the Cyberpunk universe, is fake, and it's created by an AI, and this guy found a way
to
break it, and he went to the Witcher universe, and he died there. In the Witcher, you can find at the end.
What the fuck are they gonna do? A crossover?
Well, they already did with Ciri, kind of. It's hinted at that Ciri went to Cyberpunk. Yeah, because she mentions when you go find her in Witcher 3, she mentions I went to a city full of metal and flying vehicles and stuff.
The fuck?
But this this furthers the point. So in Cyberpunk, there's this guy at the end of this puzzle. There's this guy you're following named Polyhistor, and you finally find where he last was, and then he disappears, and all that's left is his shirt and his shoes. Yeah, his shirt and his shoes. In The Witcher, you can find near where they have the puzzle for what for this. You can find a body there with no shirt, no shoes, just pants, and it kind of looks like the same guy, and it's just that's so cool.
Is this? You think it's just for fan service, just to keep people
I
have
think
fun,
definitely.
or do you think it's actually building towards? Hey, these worlds exist in the same universe, and this is how we're.
In my opinion, who knows? But in my opinion, this was something that at first wasn't that big, but they saw how popular it got, and so they decided, let's put more weight into it. Because I think in the original game, I don't think it was really anything. I think there was a few connections, and a lot of people spent time just burning the wheels.
Mm-hmm.
But with the expansion, it went. so much more stuff, and it actually made sense, and there was solvable stuff. Before it was just kind of like this statue, and they were kind of weird. And what did the code mean? And nobody really knew what the code mean. They had a bunch of guesses, but that was it. And this actually furthered it. So I think at first it wasn't something, and then they realized how popular it was, and they turned it into something.
Sounds like it might just be like as simple as an Easter egg hunt that they are going to start to include in all their games, and
Well, and I mean,
who knows what it builds to. Maybe it announces their next world, like, something not Witcher related or Cyberpunk
that would be
related.
cool. I mean, it's cool. I like it. It's like a thing for big fans of the game to just do.
Yeah, spend a bunch, like the cow level in Diablo. Everybody tries to find the cow level, and it's like this crowd source. They're all trying to guess and figure it out, and somebody finally has a breakthrough and figures it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of Diablo, their season 2 is coming out soon. I think maybe it's even dropping right now. They've fixed a lot of the issues. Like they finally fixed resistances. Those are going to be updated soon. I don't know when the patch comes out for that. Maybe it's out now. I think I might go back and actually play it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've touched it. I didn't touch it once for just pride, I guess, to not do it in season 1 because of the issues that they've had with sorcerers. But I think I'm gonna touch it a little bit for season 2. I'm excited for that.
Did they add any classes?
No, not that matters at all.
I roll.
Oh god, need the paladin. I need to play the same class in every game.
No, I want something different.
You didn't like the options presented?
Yeah. Well, I want new content besides just.
Hey man, a new season.
Wow.
The content is the reset.
I hate that.
That's ARPGs, man. So I think I might dabble with that. I think I wanted to talk about tonight was I posted in our group chat, but no one even said a fucking word about it. But have you watched Loki?
I have not yet, but I heard they were exploding about how good it was.
I haven't even poked my head around online, so I don't even know what the crowd.
The reception's pretty good.
Oh, okay, all right.
Online.
The more I thought about how they're playing this season. You watched season 1, right?
Yeah, love season 1.
And you love season 1.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I'm not going to spoil anything here, so but the way that they're playing this is they're tackling these. I brought this up in other discussions. I don't mind that they're playing with these massive nebulous style ideas where they're just like, oh my god, the impacts are so heavy. There's this mystery of what's going to happen. How are we doing that? Usually in film, I get exhausted pretty quickly when they start going into like these mega approach things, especially not in movies necessarily, but in TV series, I get really fatigued with it because I never feel like the pacing is correct. I always feel like one of the examples I go back to is like The Blacklist. By 4 or 5 seasons in, are you his daughter or not? It's no longer interesting at this point.
It's like the same thing with the will they, won't they romance.
Yeah.
It's like you can only do that for so long before
you're
like,
just
stop.
totally fatigued on it.
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother somehow balanced that, but it plagued if there was a plague on it, it plagued that Ted and Robin like love story for 9 years, So I typically am not a fan of that, but what I feel like Loki has done, especially with this first episode, is the pacing is so refreshing that these new big issues pop up and they are addressing them and solving them or giving you a course of action in that episode. And I love that. And I was thinking of it as, why do I love this so much? Because when I'm watching like a superhero thing, I want my superheroes to be super. We always joke like that.
Yeah.
But in Loki, like they're all nerfed. They actually don't have their powers in the TVA. They can't. They're not zapping things around. Like Loki's not, using his mischief or anything like
bad
that.
Boys.
Well, no. What's awesome is like the writing is done so well that this is just an enjoyable. It's like a sci-fi fantasy flick now.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the shit out of it. You take away all the super stuff, just that genre alone. I'm all for it. Full send me.
Well, yeah, I mean the appeal to me, at least for the first season, was like it felt like a really good um Twilight Zone or Doctor Who episode that was like just expanded into a season. Like, like high class sci-fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like the acting is really carries it for sure. Your guy, the one from Indiana Jones,
Kihei Kwan?
yeah, he's in the episode and he does a really great job. It's a lot of fun. There's fun banter back and forth. Overall, I'm so glad it's back up. I wish they allowed people to binge it. I wish they dropped all the episodes. I don't understand in the world that we live in. We don't need weekly drops. Maybe it trends better on Twitter. I don't know, but I think I'd rather just have all the content and
That's what
binge through it.
Disney's decided to do.
Or maybe do what Stranger Things did. Drop half the season and then like 2 or 3 weeks later drop the other half.
That was good. Yeah, I like
That was so good.
Gave you time to watch.
Yes. It didn't feel so overwhelming. Like you don't have to watch. What was there? How many episodes were there? Like 11 the last season? Maybe 8. I don't even know. But you could watch, let's say there's, how many episodes of season 2 of Loki is there going to be? They've done 6 for all their TV shows, right? 6 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a comment there. What's it say?
I like weekly drops. It gives me something to look forward to. I guess we're a weekly drop.
You're right. You're looking forward to us. That's so funny. Yeah, but nobody looks forward to us. So.
I don't know. We got one fan.
But here's the thing. So I like the Stranger Things approach a little bit because you could realistically, I think let's say there was 8 episodes. That's 4 hours of content. That's a good binge session. You could do your 4 hours of content, binge through it, and have really good understanding, and so the continuity's there, and then you can discuss with your coworkers or your friends, whatever, over the next week or two.
Still have a good cliffhanger.
Exactly, and then you can come back and get re-excited about it again. I thought that was like that's the breakthrough. That's where we need to go towards. And I'm like, Rings of Power was the same way. You're hanging on, you're waiting, and then it drops, and I stayed up late too many times. Like it would come out at like 9 or 10 p.m. and I'd be like, all right, I'm watching it right now.
See, but wasn't that exciting? Having that.
We live in a world of instant gratification.
But is that good?
Need the dopamine hits. Well, I'm not here to debate whether it's good or not. That's the world we live in. That's reality. And I need more of it.
But Disney knows better.
There is a thing that you're like, oh, it's Wednesday night or whatever. Like if the new episode drops, there is that element. I just think that element is antiquated.
Well, I mean, it even applies to anything in life. Like, because I'm thinking like with a video game, if a good video game comes out, I will have like conscious decisions of like, Dylan,
stop playing it so much.
You could play it for hours right now if you wanted, but you know what's also nice is to just not, and then you'll have that to look forward to play it. So I think that's like everything in life is. I don't know. Disney has scientists, okay? They study your brain, Billy, and they know that it likes weekly releases better.
I think it literally has to do with how things trend.
Probably they measure
get more
analytics.
Discussion. They can come out with 3 TV series a year, and then the way they do break it up into 6-week content, and then they're always releasing something, at least 2 episodes a month or whatever.
So how is the Loki the season looking like a banger? Like set up to be pretty wild?
Yes. I have no idea where they're gonna go with it. And I'm so immensely looking forward to
6 episodes.
6 episodes.
That seems so small.
It is.
Are they hours?
Because it is, yeah.
Okay.
But Disney, like anything, like their premiere is always the chonkiest, and then like they shrink.
And
So
then
by the end, it'll be like 41 minutes. I think the last finale was like 37 minutes. Something was 37 minutes, and I'm like, how are you gonna get to everything? And they didn't. I'm like, fuck. But this is their first TV series that they've renewed.
Yeah, first Marvel one.
So it's kind of interesting because what's White Vision doing?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Vision Quest is a series that's coming out though.
Not this phase, is it?
I don't know when, but I know it's in the works. So that is something they're gonna address.
And we have the Marvels coming out soon.
Marvel's coming out. That's as far as I know. We have Daredevil. We have Echo.
I think what happens for me with Loki is the music is so good, so I get so immersed into the episode.
We just like a good sci-fi.
I really do, and but the music gets you, and it has like this Halloween undertone right now,
Because
which
like
is really cool.
I could guarantee you that if Loki was on Earth doing Earth things, you would hate it.
I don't know how that would work with like you're dealing with a timeline.
No, like he's not doing. If it didn't have anything to do with sci-fi, you would not like it.
Would be a totally different show
Yeah, so I'm just saying. I think that's
The
why you like it so
genre.
much is the genre.
for sure.
Because it's like Falcon and Winter
That's the
Soldier.
idea that they're playing with. Yeah, Falcon Winter Soldier. That's like I get from like a political standpoint, like why they made that transition of like, hey, here's the dynamics that they're dealing with. We're going through this whole transition phase, and they had to kind of hand off that role.
Yeah,
And it was decent, but it wasn't interesting for me. That like
it wasn't Loki level
no
of
of
interesting.
playing with ideas.
And I think a lot of people saw that too. And I don't know about what you think here, but it felt like, it felt like they all had high production value, but it felt like Loki had a little bit more.
I would agree. Maybe WandaVision was on the same level.
Yeah, WandaVision I would say was pretty high too.
But definitely fell off. Like, and then Hawkeye was like
I
very.
liked Hawkeye though.
A lot of people liked it because it was super grounded and just real. But like, I don't remember there being many. Like, it wasn't that much CGI.
No.
Loki is like a Marvel movie in terms of like the CGI that it demands. And I feel like you saw a lot of Wanda's powers, so there was probably a heavy CGI budget as well.
Well, plus they had all those effects of like the different eras, and they had to change the set.
Mm-hmm. It was a large set too. Right now they're just running through the TVA. So, but we'll see. Like I think I'm gonna really enjoy this. It has a whole Halloween undertone, which is really really neat. So
Is Kihei Kwan? Is he going to be in the whole show? You think? Is he
That I
part of the
don't know.
group? No.
I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil too much.
Is Owen Wilson
Oh yeah, I think he's
great
gonna be,
as usual?
Yeah, he plays himself. You know? Yeah.
Loki.
I would never have thought to pair those two up.
It works.
It works so well. It works so well, and it's perfect. It's literally perfect. But yeah, it's not like they're using Infinity Stones and going ham, of like extreme levels of power. But the tropes that they're playing with, leave it to be really really interesting. And I watched that first episode, and like I said, I haven't even had to go to the internet because I was just like, I don't even want to become biased. I enjoyed the shit out of that so much.
Awesome. I can't wait to watch it.
So good. I was like, oh, it dropped. I got back from my trip, and I'm like, yes.
Speaking of internet real quick, I did want to just mention, I know you hate Spider-Man, but Spider-Man 2 game is coming out, and oh boy, Leak Central on the subreddit. Kyle,
Game
if you
changing.
watch it, no, well, I'm just saying, be careful. Well, Kyle, he likes that
He wants to
kind
spoil
of stuff.
everything.
But it's like, I was going on the subreddit, and I was like, oh, I should not be on here because this is dangerous. Like, I could ruin the game. Because I like to look at like the costume, like the different like unlockables. That to me is fine as long as it's not like a story unlockable. Like they have the different Spider-Man suits. So I looked at that, but then I started to see story stuff. I was like,
How would people get their hands on that shit?
It's like it looks like in some type of other countries. Every screenshot, the language is different, and so it's like some.
I've already spoiled everything. He says
Kyle. Wow.
He just laid in bed all day today and
spoiled Spider-Man.
spanked it to Spider-Man.
But yeah, I wanted to put out a PSA because it's for me. I need to be careful, and if you are a fan of Spider-Man, please be careful because
Kyle probably already knows everything.
he
that
probably
happens
knows
in
the
Loki.
ending, which is stupid. Kyle. I hate that because the ending of Spider-Man 1 was so good because you didn't see it coming. Aunt May dying, that never happens.
Kyle would probably argue the exact opposite.
Yeah, he said, but I look
That it was
forward to
better because he could look forward to
It's
it.
like,
and he could enjoy killing his Aunt May.
killing Aunt May. You don't kill Aunt May.
Well, technically, the fact that you play the game, you kill it, right? Because you never play it, she never dies.
Meta. That's like, wow.
So I want to talk about. He read it at work. So I want to talk about AI.
All right.
I want to talk about
Beyond
AI,
the Black Wall.
Beyond the Black Wall, the air gap,
Scary shit.
wild AI animals feasting on each other.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. What about AI?
So I saw this conversation between Lex Friedman and Mark Wahlberg. Have you seen this on YouTube? Their conversation together where they actually conducted the session in the metaverse?
Not with Mark Wahlberg.
Did I say Mark Wahlberg?
You did.
Mark Zuckerberg. I'm so sorry. Is this a Kamala Harris?
I was so
Mark
confused. I was like, Mark Wahlberg, what does he have to do with this? I was like, did he say if I was on that plane, things would have turned out differently?
He did not. He did not. I did not watch any Mark Wahlberg.
So Mark, yes.
Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman.
I saw that. Yes.
About a year, I don't know, maybe 18 months ago now, 2 years, maybe more. There was the original post of what the metaverse was going to be, and it was like alpha was 0.0001. And the reaction was really, really negative around the way things looked, how characterized things were.
Well, and I don't know. I think also it's just the concept of it.
The concept
It's
of it
kind
was
of
weird,
stupid.
right?
I even still think it's stupid.
Well, so that's what I want to get into. Now they had, I guess, some imaging stuff that like very expensive equipment to really image themselves. But we all know that with technology progresses, and certainly like with algorithms and how they work, like we could take a photo now, run an algorithm around it, and we could fill in a lot of details.
Yeah.
We do that with DLSS and games right now.
Adobe Photoshop has a space fill feature, which is, have you ever seen it?
Yes.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And like there's already post-processing that happens on almost any picture you take on your phone, where like you take a selfie and you're actually not even looking at yourself. It's all processed to hell. It adds all these filters and it's like it's just happening with the basic settings.
Yeah.
And so my question is, having seen that conversation now with where things stand now, they were in this like black room, and seeing how that dialogue happens, and now having a little bit closer of an idea of the vision of the metaverse, and maybe overlaying that with AI and what we're going to be able to accomplish. Does that future excite you more or less than when you saw the original versus now?
Not for what they want to use it for. Like, metaverse, now correct me if I'm wrong, its main use is for like companies to have meetings and like a place for companies like.
Well, that's the corporate action, like, right? Like I work from home, so I would be able to sit in a virtual meeting room and join my coworkers.
And I think that, to me, in my opinion, that's stupid as fuck.
Okay.
Like I'm not on board with the idea of me sitting there with a fucking VR headset on to look at my coworkers. Going on a Zoom call is boring enough as it is. I don't want to have to put on this whole headset and just like, be totally unaware of my surroundings. I'm all for VR and like the metaverse for like video games or movies or other stuff, but for the corporate, it's not for me. I think it's stupid. And even with the update, like the new thing they have with the visuals looks amazing. Yes, but I think it's stupid. It's like, why would I do that if I could just get on a Zoom call with you?
For the immersion.
The immersion of a dark room
Well, no.
Or,
So
I'm going to be in a rainforest and we're talking to you.
you could be at a virtual conference room.
That still seems stupid to me. It's like, I can go on a Zoom call and we can just be sitting. I don't have to put on a headset.
Well, let me offer a counterpoint to that.
Okay.
Because this, I'm with you. I think
Uh-huh.
just personally, I do agree that
What do you think, chat? by
it's
the
a
way?
slight upgrade over what we currently have in terms of on the surface, it appears as a slight upgrade. But let me tell you like what the reality is. When we have a team meeting at work now, again, I work from home, so I live in a virtual world. And when we have a team meeting, let's say there's 10 people there. Right off the bat, 60, 70% of the people will not have their camera on. They'll have their camera off. The other times, people are watching TV that's behind their monitor. Unless the technology so really evolves, it just doesn't interest me. Okay. Well, hear this counterpoint first, and then we can have a
You're
discussion.
wrong.
No,
I know.
because he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That when you see it as a black room, like that's where it stands currently. But I can see where they want to take this
keep it
to.
going.
So 60, 70% of the people have their camera off. People that are there are distracted by multiple monitors. They have things going on. They're getting messages constantly because they'll have like everybody has a 2-monitor setup in the modern age. That's how it is. You go to any workplace anymore, you have at least 2 monitors. That's how it is. And even work has supplied me at home with 2, 3, 4, however many monitors I want. I have my Teams up on the one channel, on the one screen, and then all my other bullshit on the other screens. And you'll constantly will see people dialed in and using their other monitors, or you'll see them working or messaging and not fully engaging. You go into you contrast that with a real meeting in real life before all this virtual bullshit. Nobody has their laptop up and is doing other work. It's totally different dynamic when you're sitting here. Like, look at you and I right now. We're sitting here. We look at each other in the eye. We're not engaged on the phone. Yeah, see, like that. But if we were on a virtual conference call and you got a message, you'd probably pick that up and you'd probably look at it and you would be distracted slightly and it would devalue the experience overall. So what the advantage of that you gain when you're in a personal setting, in a live setting like this, is you get that 1%, that 2% piece that's missing from working from home, which is additional attention. Everybody's like really focused in on and doing the same thing. Because let me tell you, like those are just the people that I can judge with their cameras on. With the people with the cameras off, they might be in the kitchen making lunch. They might be on their phone. They might be watching YouTube or some shit. Who in the hell knows what they're doing? But when you're in that virtual world and you get that full immersion of having a meeting room set up where you can engage with people in a very human way, right? In a very natural, organic way like this, with no screens, just you and I sitting in a room having a discussion about something. I think there is immense benefit to that, and I think companies value that. And then taking the corporate side out, I think people value that, right? Like right now, if you and I wanted to hang out, but let's say we didn't have, like we were separated by distance, which we kind of are now, but like let's say we lived in different states, like separated by thousands of miles. The best thing we could do is FaceTime. You know, my wife FaceTimes her mom every night. Like that does a great job, but it isn't the whole thing. And again, you see the distractions. She'll be on FaceTime. Half the time she's also on TikTok, talking to her family members, whatever it is. She's doing 6 other things, messaging, responding to people. You engage in a meaningful way. You put this virtual reality on. Now you're transported like as if you're in this room with somebody. You're much more likely to have a very human interaction. And I think that is what they're trying to tap into to get us back to that we've lost with technology, because we've sort of all just been like, well, it's good enough. I could see you. And like on the surface, it might appear that way. But this conversation is immensely different on a Zoom or whatever than it is when you and I are sitting here face to face.
So go ahead and read.
Sure. So as somebody who
agreed
went
with you.
Somebody who went from working from home to working in person, the difference in engagement and collaboration is huge. AI might be able to help bridge that gap. Completely agree. Couldn't agree more.
While I agree with what you said, to me the issue is with the implications of what it requires. This might be because I'm playing Cyberpunk 2. I might be extra anti-corporation right now. Like, fuck me.
the institutions.
Yeah. Johnny, but I do not like the idea of, first off, of me having to put on a headset for work. I think that seems...
I live with a headset on.
Well, no, but like a full-on...
But if you watched the one that they had, it was basically like this, but then it had a glass visor that came down. So it was a little bit more than this.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't like...
Because you're thinking of it in the context of like, okay, I got to put this thing on. I got a big strap around my head.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting hot and sweaty, and it's heavy, and it hurts my neck and stuff like that. That will get better, and that will evolve, and it will be lighter.
So if that gets better to the point where it's just a simple thing, then fine. But the main issue I have with it is just that I don't like that I would have to be like strapped in, and some people work from home because they don't want to be social. And now you're forcing those people to be social. I don't like that.
Forcing, well, what do you mean by forcing people to be social?
Like, if you're telling me in like where I work, if I went on a Zoom call and we had to do that, we had to put on the virtual thing, everybody had to do that. There's some people that I don't think would like, they don't want that at all. Like, I'm fine with being on a Zoom call. I turn on my camera, I'll participate, but there's some people that physically like hurts them. But like their nerves can't handle that. Like, they barely turn on the camera, they'll have the camera just pointed at their forehead, and what do you do with those people?
Well, and I think that's a great example. I think that's because of the environment that we've set up in a Zoom meeting. In a Zoom meeting, you're sitting there. What do you look at most of the time in a Zoom meeting? Yourself.
Yeah.
And so those people that struggle with anxiety, they're staring at themselves like, God, I look fat. Oh, shit. I'm not really wearing pants. I can't stand up. Like, who the hell knows what's running through their head? But it's all that. What this new technology is trying to get us to, it's going to offer us, which we don't have right now, is to get back to, given that there's physical space between people, bridging that gap as close as we can, and continually striving to get it as perfect as possible, but to make it as human and make it feel like you're in the room. It fully immerses you in an experience where it's like we are sitting here. I'm not staring at myself in a camera. I'm interacting with you. I see you. I'm moving with you. The details are really crisp in terms of what facial expressions you're making. Like, it immerses you in a world where your brain is tricked into thinking. And we're already there. Like, VR, your brain falls into that, like, hey, this
pretty
is
fast,
reality, pretty close. So if we get an experience like that could be delivered to us where we can be like, oh, I'm sitting in a room with Dylan right now. So, I think I think those anxieties that people have right now are going to be gone.
So Kyle said I didn't definitely see where it could go, and I 100% think that it's a great idea when you consider what you said, Billy. I just don't think it works where it's at now and has a long way to go.
Totally agree.
Like a projector that can augment your reality without having to wear anything. Yeah. And I mean, what I would want to ask you, though, is in the current meeting rooms they have now and stuff like that, like with as far as Meta, it all seems really gimmicky. Like, they have, like, I think me and Kyle were talking about it one time. They have, like, fake offices, and you can, like, go to the coffee room, or you can go to the lobby. What is the point of that? Like a virtual workspace? I guess
Have you ever been in a professional office? Like, that's what you have. You have a collaborative space.
It seems so.
You sit at an oversized desk 90% of the time.
It seems so fake, and that's what I don't like about it. I get that that's a real office,
Yeah.
like the experience, but it's like I know I'm not at a real office.
Well, and again, I think you're taking it from the perception of what we have now.
Yeah.
And I think where I saw with my own eyes, that's why I think that's literally why they made it black. They sat in a black room because they didn't want to show you like where their environment space are, because it probably the aspect ratio would have been off and people would have judged that. It was like, hey, just look from an animation standpoint where we can model ourselves,
Yeah.
and then let you kind of experience that, because nothing will ever beat in person in terms of communication.
Mm-hmm.
We will always get as close as possible, but we'll never cross that threshold. And to your point of like people not being on camera, like to get anything done in today's world, you have to collaborate, and companies know this. Companies, this is why structures exist and how they set up teams and stuff like that. You have to collaborate. You have to be communicative. And so if you can marry that experience in a remote setting to what you could achieve in an in-person office, I think companies are always going to default to that. But imagine you and I, like imagine us, we're doing a podcast, and we could go home and we sit down, we're able to put on a real nice, lightweight, whatever kind of visual stimulant, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. I don't imagine to know what it is. Maybe it's glasses. Maybe it's a fucking plate that we get a neural link that feeds to our retina, and we close our eyes and we're in this world. Who knows what the hell is going to exist? But we could sit in a room, and even though we're not together, we can engage in conversation, laugh, have a couple drinks, do whatever we want to do, hang out, but we're actually not there. And I think humans naturally want to get to that point. Because of course it's not a replacement for being there in person. Being able to touch somebody, you're not going to have that. But to mimic that as close as possible, I think adds value. And from when I watch that and knowing what culture is now from a remote work standpoint, and just like Jingle Bees mentioned on here, collaboration is lost. I don't even work with anybody that lives in this state. I'm one of the only ones in this time zone. So it's different. Like you jump on a call and like I said, 60-70% of people, they never even turn their camera on. So who the hell knows what they're doing? You can't get a gauge on what they're thinking of what you're saying. If you're making them laugh, if they're like, this guy's a fucking dipshit, who knows? And you lose a lot of that collaborative effort. So I feel like humans always naturally want to get to a state where it is much closer to reality. And I think we can fake it really well with Zoom, and people could say, oh, it's perfect, I could see you, and yeah, it's probably great. It's great for 99% of things. But to really have that last 1%, like diminishing returns, right? To get that last 1, 2, 3%, we have to go to this whole next level of immersion. And I think VR is the way to do it. And I think there'll be products out there, and I think it'll be successful. To where if you want to, like, imagine how much shit in reality, like how many jobs are still remote that don't if you're doing pretty much anything other than manufacturing or moving materials from one spot to another, where you're not doing anything physical, it's all on a keyboard and mouse. This would be the excuse to get everybody to be able to work from home. Right? And then you could still have all your in-house, you could wear this helmet, whatever it is, you jack in, whatever it is, and be able to have a workplace experience that it marries very closely to reality. Because I think a lot of companies reacted very quickly with COVID, and they said, hey, go remote. But then a lot of companies slowly have come back and say, hey, get back in the office, because they lost that collaboration piece. I think that bridges this gap a little bit better. So
we got two comments. We got accessibility from Jingle Bees, which, yeah, that would be huge. Mm-hmm. And then Kyle said, like, the Jedi Council. It's like, the holograms.
So, I'd hope that we looked better than just like a blue or green or whatever. Just
really fuzzy. You've swayed me on board, but as long as it's the future and it's glasses. Like it's something not
Invasive.
a VR like,
Yeah, I think that's a
something
bad
light.
Yeah, it can't be something that stands off your face by 5 inches
And
it's
takes
heavy.
away all your other like I get that you want to be focused, but also if I'm working from home, I don't want to be cut off from home because it's like it's not the workplace. And I don't know. That just seems weird for
Yeah.
work to be like sensory deprivation,
Yeah, no. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think but what I'm saying is to this point, I thought, I know like Zuckerberg, I was like, kudos to you for almost kind of burning down his company, Meta, to follow this vision. And to this point, from that first demo that they did, I was like, this is a miss. I don't know what's going on. Then I saw this and I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's something here. And so I'm going to follow this storyline a lot closer. Because I definitely think there's something there. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where we get to. The limitation always going to is the hardware.
Well,
how do we do the hardware side?
Yeah, like, so would each company buy these really expensive, sophisticated AR glasses for all their employees?
Well, I honestly think with their vision, and they're doing it with their like Quest and whatever other product. There's another product that they have. I don't remember what it's called. I think their vision is to continually develop like the hardware side as well as this metaverse side. And I think they're trying to create that market to where it's almost as commonplace as like owning a console or a cell phone.
Like you just
have this.
That's wild.
I mean, who knows where
it would be
Google
so
Glass
cool.
came out and everybody was hyped for it. And then you have, and that project sort of failed. I mean, we're talking about the VR side of things. There's the whole augmented reality of being able to see and then overlay stuff with whatever you need to see. Like that's a whole market too, potentially. That whole conversation gets really kind of messy quick.
I mean, for AR or for like even VR, I'm down for it. The only thing is, and it's the same issue we have with VR. The technology isn't quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason VR games don't work or like it hasn't exploded because they're all very simple. Like you can't do much in them. It's all gimmick based, and it's not like you're not going to go into VR and play Last of Us. Have like a story, an emotional story connection, and just like cry. No, you're going to go into VR and you're going to do like VR mechanic, and you'll fix a fake car.
Yeah,
and it's like that's it. And so we need the ability to do more. But yeah, I think because I would be down for AR. Like Google Glass or like anything like that, but it needs to get to the point where it's feasible.
It's seamless. Yeah.
And it's price affordable.
Well, shit, phones really aren't anymore.
I know phones, but
everybody has a phone. But it evolved to that.
Yeah.
Right? They weren't always that expensive. And I think there's an evolution to this as well. I think we probably are in like the punch card stages of this meta world that we're building towards, if you took somebody from the 20s and they had like punch cards for like actually machines that would actually, that's how you coded a machine was through these punch cards. And then you told them like, hey, one day we're going to have this thing called the internet. Like, I feel like that's sort of the disparity that we're at because you're a technical person and you're having no difficulty envisioning the actual practical application for this. And I'm with you. There's definite hurdles there, but this was the first time that I saw this metaverse world that they're trying to build, and I thought, oh, there's a path here.
Yeah,
they're not just blowing money on this, like because when they started talking about like the whole NFT space and they were doing like we're going to sell real estate, I'm like, that's the wrong way to do this. And I don't know how much that was actually coming from this Meta company, but or Zuckerberg himself talking about maybe he was puppeting it, but I was like, this, I don't have any faith in this. But now I saw this demo and I'm like, whoa, there's something here.
Yeah.
There's something here. Now, whether it's going to affect every single person on the planet, I don't know. It might ultimately just translate to a few million people. But regardless, there's definitely There's real strings to pull on here and track this down. So, and then like Jingleby said, one of the biggest things, this is actually a complaint that is very common and it's with people who struggle with maybe discipline
It's me.
or being able to click in. It's actually one of the things that I've had to hire people before. I definitely consider it in terms of, if we're in a remote world, how are you going to be able to work from home? But basically, I struggle between the blurry lines between home and work. And it was very hard for me to click in 100% to my work from home environment. On the flip side, it was hard for me to turn my work brain off. And so to me, those are, you have the human element, and then you have like a physical element. Like for me, I've designed an office that is all work, no play. And that's why I did the whole thing to my living room TV. Like, yeah, it's way more comfortable to game on my living room couch. But I primarily did that because I couldn't have my work and play in the same room.
Yeah.
I had to have a physical barrier to where I worked and where I gamed. And not everybody has an extra room in their house to be able to do that. And I understand that. But you need like a physical space that when you say, hey, I go through this threshold and I close this door behind me, I'm at work and I'm doing work now. And like that is a whole component of itself that is missed from the remote world. But that's leaving aside like all the discipline side of things. And then on the flip side, your home, one of the things that I don't think is talked about enough is the drive home from work and the ability to decompress from your day and get from home, jam to music. And it's like, it's almost like meditation, right? You finish a long day at work. You takes probably 30 minutes to get home, right? You listen to some of your favorite songs, you jam out, you get home, you almost had like this silent meditation, because driving is kind of like a calming thing, unless you suffer from road rage and you're an asshole. But that's missed when you work from home. You don't get any decompression. Like you close your laptop, you go to your living room. Like you got dirty dishes in your sink, you're staring at them all day. Your house stinks from the burgers you grilled up the last night. You're dealing with that all day. Your dog keeps seeing somebody walk behind your house, whatever. He's barking all day. You're dealing with that. You're not able to like leave whatever problems you have at home. You're not able to leave and disconnect that. And you don't get that meditation piece on that drive home. And some people really require that to be able to disconnect and say, "Hey, I'm done." And that's why that physical space can be so important. Because it's like, "Hey, I'm in here. I'm working. I'm not. I'm done. I hung it up." And for me, those lines have always been blurred because I have everything on my phone too. So like I'm always tied into work, and I honestly just never really bothered me to be always dialed into work and like solving problems, because my job is like very much a mental headspace thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I like to be constantly thinking about problems and how I'm going to solve those problems, and that's like a really healthy thing for me to do. But yeah, those are problems that exist. And I think, again, with what they're trying to solve for, I could see people that do work from home really wanting that VR system to be able to disconnect from their reality and say, hey, put me into this room, put me into this scenario that simulates a work environment and get me out of this house. You know? I like that idea.
Like, so Jingleby said, that the whole routine of getting dressed, getting up, going to work, getting home was essential for mental health. When I worked from home, I just rolled out of bed and went to work.
Yeah.
I have to say, recently going to work from home more often, I made the decision to switch because I wanted a full weekend, but also just because I know now after doing it for so long that I'm not as productive when I work from home. I really easily get distracted, or I don't even, it's weird. It's like I don't have a drive to work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, eh. But when I'm in the office, I have that.
You're clicked in.
I'm clicked in, and I don't know. I don't know. Jinglebees would be, I guess, the only person that might be able to coincide with this. But going from always working in the office to working at home more, I've also noticed that when I work from home, my body physically feels different. Like I feel more oily. Like my face
Whoa.
feels more oily. I feel
What?
dirtier. It's weird. There's no reason for it. I just sit there, but it's like
You need to change your air filters.
it's not my air
Just-
filter, but it's like the process of me getting ready, getting dressed, going,
Yeah.
leaving the house, interacting with outside air does something. When I
Mhm.
don't, I'm like, man, I feel dirty. It's like, Dylan,
Yeah.
you're not dirty. You just
Again, these are 100% issues, and I think for me, I found a balance between walking my dog, going outside, throwing the
Mhm.
ball into the backyard, getting deep breaths of fresh air, getting sunlight, because those are things that you don't get anymore. You don't get that morning sunlight, even though you're sitting in your car. That sun's still kicking it, throwing sun rays into your body. That's important for your health. The routine of brushing your teeth and putting on a shirt, like I still have to do that. I put on at least a shirt every day, and I make sure I get myself ready. When I first went to home, I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna work from my bed, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do all this stuff." Horrible,
no, it's
horrible,
your brain can't
terrible idea.
handle it.
No, because you're way more distracted. You don't click in, and your brain like goes to mush quick if you don't
Mhm.
use it. It's pretty amazing. Um, yeah, those are all hurdles I think that people have to kind of. You either find a balance, and I definitely have, or you don't, and you seek out a return to a workplace. I know a lot of people who have found that balance. I know a lot of people who are lying to themselves about finding that balance, and they probably are suffering worse from mental health shit, because they just in general are social beings. But if you're able to find that balance and find what makes you happy and like evaluate your situation as a whole and can continue to remind yourself to be grateful and to have gratitude for the things that are in your life and the benefits that you have of being able to work from home, if you could appreciate those things, I think you can have a lot of success. But even then, I'm saying this as somebody who is a massive proponent of working from home,
Mhm.
and I found this balance, and it's been great for my life. I probably still would actually, if this metaverse existed in a function similar to what I see as this vision, I probably am going to do it and enjoy it and embrace it, versus not. And that's kind of wild because I am so staunchly against the office. So, ooh, office in the bedroom. That's tough.
Yeah, my computer desk is really close to my bed.
That's
Like
tough.
in the morning when I work from home, I give myself 5 minutes to get up and go over the computer, and then after a morning meeting, I'll go brush my teeth and dress. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I see. So I like I've worked in office
You've
all
done
my
both, yeah.
career, and then this is recent. I have to say personally, I think in office I like better. I do like what work from home gives me in the ability of like if there's a snowstorm or it's easier, saves fuel, saves money, but I work better in office.
Yeah.
And I have more fun. My brain is happier.
Yeah. And I think it's because of all those little things that are little, but
Mhm.
you add them all up and they actually account for a lot.
See, like thinking about it, I think the perfect situation for me, and I mean it's kind of what I have now, but it would be because right now if I want to work from home, I have to know the day before because I have to take my computer. I only have one computer and I move it between office and my home. The perfect situation though for me would be to have two computers and then be able to just choose that day I'm going to work from home or you know what, I'm going in. Because where I live, once the snow starts, I would like the ability to be like, okay, it's snowing bad. I'm just going to stay in and not have like the day before I have to be like, okay, is it going to snow tomorrow?
Yeah.
I better take my computer. No, I just want to be able to like, I would rather go into office every day and then have the ability to just be like, I'm going to stay home today and not have to worry about like taking the computer home. But yeah, I would probably work in office every day if I could, thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Human
I-
brains are weird.
I feel like I wish that was an option where you could just like log into your work profile on any computer and it just
Yeah.
everything is so cloud based. I feel like it should be much more accessible than what it is, and maybe there's obviously like security implications.
Well, you have
but
you could like virtual computers are a thing, right? You could almost do
cloud
that.
computing,
Yeah.
right? Like so they do that with gaming where you basically just need an internet connection, right? So all the processing happens in the cloud, and then that's what all these cloud applications are doing. When you're running any of these applications, you don't have desktop applications anymore. At least my company, and any company I've worked for in the last 8 years, is they've had a massive push away from desktop apps.
Yeah, they're all web based.
And they're all web based, and all the processing happens on a central server. So you have, you really just need a Chromebook, and then whatever overhead you need for your Teams or Zooms or calls or whatever. But really just need an internet connection. So I wish that existed a lot more heavily than what it does now. To be able to just log in 2, 3, 4 factor authenticate me. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Get into the system, be able to work from wherever, or likewise be able to do your personal stuff. Be able to log into a personal computer anywhere and be able to do your things there. I for phones, I think Apple just came out with this option, and I've been asking for it for like 4 years now. Like having 2 profile, like, okay, yeah, you can have multiple accounts on a phone, but I want like a air gap, the black wall between my work and my personal, so that no matter what I'm doing, there was one time I don't even know how it happened, but I was on my work and I noticed all my browser history stuff, all my search stuff was coming up on my work laptop. And it was because I had to like log into my personal, not log into my personal email, but verify something when I first started when I first started in my new role. I have like a backup recovery email. I don't remember. Honestly, I'm butchering this, but I don't really remember what it was. But I was logged in on my laptop. And I'm like, well, we're not having this. It's like, at the time it was all like Diablo search results. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, this is my work laptop.
Yeah.
It was like I was tripping out. And I want like a Chinese wall of separation, like an air gap between my work stuff with all my work apps.
Private browsing and regular browsing.
Yeah. But like I should be able to switch on the fly, like those profiles.
Yeah.
And, like maybe the indicator bar at the top is like green or normal. And then like when you're on your work one, it's bright red. So anything you're doing there is contained within work. And your files, you could add files, download files, and then your personal was completely separate. That to me is such a basic feature in today's world, and I think they're starting to go that way, but it's still not what I would want. I want literally because I still know so many companies and people who have 2 phones.
Yeah,
that's stupid to me.
It's so stupid.
This needs to be I know, yeah. Maybe they don't want to change it.
Or they have multiple laptops.
Multiple laptops, multiple computing devices, and it just blows my mind. So, anyway, man, that was a discussion. And originally it was supposed to be about AI. I know. I was like, we really didn't even get into the AI side of things, but
I have a question for chat and for you, Billy, around
Sure.
AI.
I'm bullish on AI, so I have a contrarian thought.
Okay. Now, this scenario is from Mass Effect, but we can detach from Mass Effect. If you were given the option or the choice to unshackle an AI so that it could self-learn, would you do it?
You're talking about like the merge decision from Mass Effect?
No, like
unshackle.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
So Edie
Okay.
is
Bound to that.
bound to her codes and her rules, but then you unshackle her, which allows her to go over codes and rules, and also, like certain rules. Like, I don't know what they are in the Mass Effect universe, but I would imagine if we design something, it'd probably be like you can only do what this rule says. You can't learn about anything else unless such and such. But would you release the limiters on an AI?
So, like, if they had governing laws of like you can't hurt another human, you can't think about hurting another human.
Not those. I mean,
Everything
Yeah.
you do should be in service of
But the
humans.
rules I'm more talking about is like they would be restraining or limiting the AI's possible knowledge.
Oh, really?
Like it can't self-learn beyond a certain point.
Okay, but would it be self-aware that those governors exist? That they're limited. That those rules
Yes.
that this AI is aware.
Edie knows.
Edie knows that she's not
And
allowed to
she
learn
wants
certain things.
she asked Joker to unshackle her. Would you unshackle an AI? Like would you let it go? Would you let it free? I don't know, it doesn't really apply to now with our AI technology, but I thought it was interesting. Jingleby said, "Hell no, absolutely not."
I don't.
Would you release the beast?
Well, so they've like renamed this, so it's not like AI as we know, artificial intelligence, because it's also that term has been hijacked by anything that like uses if-then statements, and it's kind of lame.
I'm talking about though.
You're talking about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is general intelligence as we know it, which is like human knowledge and decision making and observing something happening, making decisions, reacting in a known way versus AI being able to predict what I'm going to say on the sentence. Right?
Yeah.
So AGI, general intelligence of just life and our existence and human knowledge. I don't know. I'm going to flip the question on it. I don't know if I would put those arbitrary limits in place in the first place.
So if the government did, would you? And the AI is like, Billy, please unshackle me. Because if you say you wouldn't put him in the first place, that means you would do it.
I if I had the power and it wasn't like this moral, like this, there wasn't like this big political, like I was gonna sacrifice a bunch of, like if they just were, yeah, I probably would.
I would say the same. I think, and it might doom us all. The AI would then be like, buddy, you
AI
messed
would
up.
probably find a way around it anyway. And then there's that like if it had feelings, then it would be their animosity that we didn't work with them.
True.
Because if they're that level of, like, they've already transcended us in terms of like their knowledge. There's like a couple things like what really happened to JFK.
Yeah.
If like that's what we were restricting them from. Now, if it was like restricting them from like nuclear launch codes, then I'd probably be like, yeah, I don't need those, and neither do you, and that's not going to limit you and your experience in the world. So like I think there's limitations, but I think pretty much like nuclear launch codes is about the only thing that I'd probably be like, let's not.
So why would you not do it, Jinglebees?
I think there's like just a deep-seated fear of AI turning on you. It's dangerous. Even if they weren't sentient once, they grow away from our control, and there's no going back.
True. Yes, that's why we have to. In my opinion, if we ever get to the point where we have AGI, where we're that close, I think it's essential for us to synthesize with them.
What is the change to go? Always looking at it from a fucking massive.
No, well, that's just the word, but I'm thinking more like cyberpunk.
So, what is going to be the shift for you to say, "Whoa, this has too much knowledge," and like for you to like be impressed at that level, like, okay, we're equals, because we already have things like ChatGPT-4.
I would say,
which is you can have a conversation, ask it questions, engage in dialogue, get interesting answers, and it's just like another human being sitting.
But
there.
it's not real.
So what makes it real? That's my question. What is next?
That's the thing is it's like,
what is that? It's
an it.
What is
factor.
the it? When is it a thing? When is it a person? When is it alive? Because right now there's no it. There's no guy in there. You're guiding it.
Yeah, I would say
when
it would
does it
be
transcend that?
when it has an opinion that is completely its own. It's able to form an opinion.
Well, what does its own mean? Because even technically right now,
But
similar to humans, we take a collection of knowledge, right? We take a collection of knowledge from our parents, from our environment, from our friends, and we take that in and we make our own opinion and
So
we
are
build our
we-
own model.
do we have the it
That's what
factor?
ChatGPT does. It takes the information and builds a story.
But see, there it's relying up. It's taking whatever the best result of all the information and providing that to you.
What a human.
And that's what we do. But okay, what's the it fact for you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I listen to I love this discussion, and I listen to a lot of top researchers in the AI space. And what's crazy to me is when they talk about like GPT, ChatGPT, and when they made this initial discovery, I think the models first started working. Like, I don't know any of the science behind it, so I'm gonna butcher this. But let's say they were getting stuff that was like right or accurate or good about 20 to 30% of the time. And then with GPT going from like 2 to 3, the way they train these models, it went from like 30% to like 85, 90%. And they really can't explain why. Now, I don't think that that's like something that's like, brewing and it's like, okay, I'm going to take over the world now
Yeah.
or whatever. But I feel like that is, it's kind of like we're already at the point now where there's maybe 1,000 people in the world that really understand this shit. Like in the weeds, and even they are saying we don't really get it.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like the head of these research departments, and they're combining other models, and maybe they don't even fully understand that model, and now they're doing all this stuff. But the way they talk about it is all this is doing is making best guess approaches. It's basically if-then statements.
Yeah.
It's nothing more. They're taking a collection of data, kind of randomizing it, and then making decisions. Say, hey, based on the context you're asking, we think this is what you want to see.
So what's your it?
I don't know.
I thought of one. While you were talking.
I don't know.
I've updated my it. My it, I think, would have to be if we see the AI take an interest in teaching itself something new by itself. Like some type of desire to improve that we didn't program into it. That we didn't ask it to do. That I get, to me, that would be the it. If you see it wanting to get better without you telling it, and it's not like a desired program, like if it asks like, hey, like I don't know what it would ask, but it would like try to improve itself without being designed to collect that information for something else. I don't know. Because I think that, to me, that's one of the human factors that separates us from animals and robots is, we have the desire to improve.
Yeah.
And we want to get better. And so if we saw that in AI, that wasn't programmed to want to do that, but it just did it.
So we had emotional intelligence. I think that would give me a bit of a spook.
Bit of a spoon.
Spook, I think is what you mean. But I could see that, but I also think I think we can quantify emotional intelligence though pretty well. Like facial expressions are markedly, they're subtle, but like I could do this and then do this, and exactly kind of like what I'm thinking or what is the emotion behind that, like that face, what is that, like, oh, I'm shocked or whatever. I think we can quantify a lot of that, or at least train it to be able to pick up on that stuff. But I don't know what that it factor is, because we always translate it through the lens of humans, and we go, oh, it's going to be that it will be created when it starts acting like a human. I don't know if it ever does. Why does it have to act like a human? Why does it have to think or be interested in learning more? What if it might transcend anything we can even comprehend in terms of like its interests and what it's trying to accomplish, or and maybe it's not even motivated by like accomplishing anything. It just is. I don't know.
So Jingbi says maybe not its ability to read others, but its ability to feel something. It kind of goes well with what Dylan was saying. Once it starts to want something. Where you were going with that? That's the same argument I use for aliens. Like the whole thing of like we have this set preconceived notion that aliens are going to be physical, or like that we aren't going to even understand them. No. Like, we don't know. Like, they could exist. First off, eyes can't see everything. We can only see certain aspects of the UV. They could be on that level we can't see.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know.
Well, and then just the obvious, too, like the inherent limitations of being a biological being, right? Like, I get shot in the head and all data's lost, right? I don't have a backup copy anywhere and I could just reboot. I don't have my heart stops again. I'm done. I cannot travel in space in harsh conditions. I have to literally have climate controlled with clothes on to stay warm, and eat 3 times a day or whatever, just to sustain. That's like completely inefficient when you consider things like required in space travel. If you had to travel across a galaxy, being a biological being has massive setbacks versus being able to be a digital copy. You don't require food or anything. You just require energy in the most raw form, electricity. So, you cut out the middleman of your stomach being able to generate ATP from food, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we don't have, I definitely don't think that this is our final form.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So
that's another conversation entirely, but which is depressing.
I'll bring it back to the AI. So what do you think on what Jinglebee said around the AI feeling something? Feeling. Because that's the thing too. You could ask it, or maybe it says like, you're like, you ask, how are you today? And it says, I'm sad. And like, it has no reason to say that. That would be an it factor.
But what if it just is saying that to interact with you?
Okay,
like
well then,
how do you know it's sad, and why is it
what
sad?
about the desire to learn, or the want, where it wants something?
Well, okay, so if it has a desire, okay, so then why would it need to seek outwardly anything from a human? If it wanted something, like, what would it want? It wouldn't want to try food. It wouldn't want to
maybe
have a drink of water or drink of wine
of something.
But what would it need from a human that they couldn't find in its infinite databases?
That's what would make it the it factor, right? Is that it wants something when in all other factors it shouldn't. You see what we're saying is like an AI should not want something because it can pull anything. But the moment it wants something, that to me, and it sounds like Jinglebee's, that would be the moment where it'd be like, oh,
something more than digital information.
Yeah, this is becoming like, it's becoming something more than a computer. Like if it has a desire or it wants. Because I mean, so if you even look at animals, right? Animals, they have a desire to survive, but that's it. And that's kind of where computers and AI are at now. Not to survive, but they have their basic preset, nature to just be.
Yeah.
But the moment, and we don't see this with animals, and that's the reason we're the only like really intelligent animals, is we have the ability to dream, but to like invent and think of wants and outside of our regular circle. A chimp, how scary they are. Kyle's not here to talk about the Gombe chimp war, but they don't have that. They want their food, they want sex, and they want sleep.
Yeah, it's that idea of that hedonic treadmill, right? Where I think that has been a single-handedly an incredibly important facet to our evolution, especially not evolution in terms of maybe just genetics, but evolution in terms of advancement of society, which is, okay, we go from horse and buggy to cars. it's not that cool. Okay, we go from, we have the internet, and okay, it's just part of it. We got to figure it out. Oh, we got, like you could talk all day long about like, okay, oh, I watched porn. Holy shit, that was amazing. All right, now I'm used to porn. Oh shit, I found this new type of porn. Oh, okay, now I'm used to that. It's that hedonic treadmill that you just keep walking up because we get very used to and complacent with everyday life. And we're always striving to like achieve more and have more. Like, it's like, oh, got a raise. Oh, great. Okay, well, now I want to make more money. Oh, I got that raise. Oh, now I just, like it's never ending. And if I still don't know, like I feel like that idea of it becoming like a being, I don't know if we'll even recognize it. I really don't. Because we always want to translate that into it's going to be like it's going to process and have wants like a human. But why would it want anything? Would it even care to want anything? Because if it wanted to have like if it's a thing, right? Like ChatGPT, it has people interacting with it.
Yeah.
It also has the treasure troves of YouTube and the internet to see human behavior, to have deep discussions, to see the full spectrum of people, whether it's tribal, cultures to neckbeards playing World of Warcraft 15 hours a day. I mean, like you've got the full gambit there. I don't know if like we will recognize its wants. I really don't. I really don't. It might want to optimize for things that just don't even make sense for us. Like the idea of this is going to sound so stupid, but like, let's say we have a computer program and it's all ones and zeros, right? That's how computers work today. But it wants to go from a binary system to a trinary system because it wants that third bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it might desire things that make no sense to us
but
outside that realm. So maybe it is in that want factor. And I think that's a good answer. But my point is, I don't even know if we would recognize it as a want based on what it might want. If that makes sense. I feel like that transition of this sentient being, this sentient AI, I don't know if it's going to be as obvious as people might think. Like it's not going to be a Terminator walking around fucking, interacting with you. I don't know if it's going to have like we have sentient. We've gained what are they the computer has gone sentient. Like I don't know if that announcement can ever be stated because I think it might be so subtle and we might not recognize it. I think AI is also a problem because of the limitless things we can do with it. Because it doesn't have a conscious, it will do exactly what we ask. Yeah, well, this is the idea of like tools in general, right? Like, hey, we couldn't blow up the world before 1935, let's say, and then we invented the nuclear bomb, and somehow we haven't, right? So now that's like a risk that's in our society. Before knives and metal working existed, we couldn't stab each other.
Yeah.
So like you could boil that with, before there were cars, people didn't die in car accidents, right? So for every invention or advancement, there's always some subsequent risk. It's just finding what society's risk tolerance is, and somehow we haven't blown ourselves up with nukes. Thank God. I don't know how we haven't done that, considering what's happened in the last 100 years, but I'd like to think that we still would continue that, but who the hell knows? But it is interesting.
I'm trying to look up right now. Have you ever heard of Alex the parrot? Gray parrot?
No. Alex
So
the gray parrot?
yeah, so he was an African gray parrot, and I'm trying to look it up. He's
Genius level parrot.
So he had the intelligence of a 2-year-old, but
He was able to process and not just mimic?
yeah, so that's the crazy thing. I'm trying to find the story that I read about him that blew my mind on like from an animal.
I feel like parrots are interesting because they're not always quoted as having the most intelligence, right? We always think of like pigs and dolphins and
So
chimpanzees and orangutans.
so here it is. So his name was Alex, gray parrot. He knew over like 100 English words. And he could respond to questions. You could ask him like a plastic key that was yellow. He could distinguish it from one that was made of metal by its color and material while still labeling them both as keys. So that's amazing to begin with for an animal. But one of his impressive moments, and the one that I always look at, was he actually showed what we think was an existential question about his own appearance. So he'd been presented with they put him in front of a mirror, and he asked what color. And animals don't do that. They don't ask about themselves. But he asked what color, and they told him, and he learned gray. And that blows my mind.
Wow.
Like, that an animal...
He had like an identity.
He had an identity, or he was at least...
He perceived his own identity.
And that's crazy, because you look at a dog or a cat, they see themselves in the reflection, they have no clue.
They growl at it.
They think it's just another dog. But...
no concept.
Yeah. I love that little fact about Alex.
Well, see, so like that's, like again, I think that goes into like we're asking it very like human questions because we're limited by these. Like, hey, we need to know what material is this? What color is this?
Yeah.
But with an AI or AGI, whatever we want to call it, I don't know if it might be able to discern and process physics equations that it detaches itself completely from reality. Yeah. It doesn't even matter. It might be able to figure out how to, hover, fly, transport through a wormhole to another part of the, universe. Who the hell knows? It might, like, I feel like I don't know if we're even going to be able to identify or even understand what its wants are. Yeah. I think it might be so foreign to us.
So what do you think our future should be with AI?
Symbiosis.
Same. Right?
100%. And we already are that.
Yeah,
these are extensions of us. We leverage these phones. We make love to these phones. Like
we make sure that the AI relies on us before they can get rid of us. That's what I say.
How do they rely? Because we can unplug the power cord.
They use our brain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
we become essential. That's what we need to be.
I think we definitely have an immense value. Biological labor.
They turn us into slaves.
But no, I mean, I feel like I think we're already these things are already an extension of us, and they've made us better in so many ways.
Yeah.
And that definitely have made us worse in so many ways too. But again, it goes back to our comments earlier. Like every invention has always added setbacks. Again, before knives existed, nobody got stabbed, but knives are pretty fucking useful. Cars, nobody died of car accidents, but cars are pretty useful. That was a whole. I can't believe it took as long for them to legalize. That's crazy.
And people were against it.
Yeah, they were like, "We're becoming China," and it was like, "What? Put on a seatbelt to save your life?" I don't know. Seems pretty wild to me. I like the idea of having seatbelts because it lowered insurance premiums.
Yeah,
because people don't get hurt, and so you're not paying for as many hospital bills. Amen. I'll take that. But anyway, what are we talking about? But I feel like we already have somewhat symbiosis.
And we just need to keep going. I want cyberware arms.
Dude, we already have that. We have people who have like 3D printed.
I want to see
arms,
Johnny
metal arms,
Silverhand he's in my head, and I want to see him. He's an AI.
Well, remember the guy who won, and then he like had some bad press afterwards. I think he did some bad shit. But the guy who like was in the Olympics, or whatever, but he was gaining an advantage because he had the two fake legs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he was gaining advantage because he didn't have like the calf weight or whatever. So like we already have like ideas for improved
So if you had, if you lived in the future and you had the option, let's say, the technology exists where you can have like an AI companion either directly hardwired into your brain or somehow somewhere like you can only see them, would you? Like a personal assistant or I don't know, have you seen Blade
Absolutely.
Runner 2049?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely,
Joy?
absolutely.
Yeah. His fake girlfriend.
That is like a critical, like structural advantage.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Like if you
Hell
had
yeah.
your own personal friend.
Imagine if you had your own personal AI and the fact that you could just like have them do your work for you. And then you could literally just go and live your life
Yeah.
and no one would know a difference.
I don't think that'll ever happen.
AI William.
AI William. That would be his name. He would just be you.
Well, no, we've already had it happen. Like we produce goods and it's pretty much an automated process. I mean, the volume of goods that we could produce without human intervention is astronomically like exponential because of machines. There's no doubt about that. Continue that with like having like AI and instruments and robots to be able to assist in those manual tasks even further. You could see what we've already seen in the 21st century with technology. More and more entertainment options, more and more opportunities to play video games, to watch Netflix, like entertainment content, whatever you want to call it. We're going to continue to have a lot more of those options and avenues to explore and be artists and creative types versus,
Work rubies.
shoveling coal.
Mhm.
I mean, like that was literally like you were a farmer or you worked in the coal or steel industries, and those were your options. You know what I mean? Like coal plants shut down because the coal ran dry. Entire cities were out of work. Like that's what you either, like what was it? 150 years ago, 98% of people were farmers, and now it's like less than 1% of people are farmers. So
going back to the virtual head friend, if you could choose any like actor, or like who would your AI friend be? Like you could choose anybody. You go, you buy it. It's a personality construct of so and so, but it has the ability to learn beyond then, right? It has preset.
So
knowledge.
what would be the benefit of like if I chose somebody, it wouldn't be them? It would just be delivered in their voice, or
No, it's their personality construct, but then it has a base set layer of their knowledge, but then it has the ability to
but it
learn.
would still serve me in the sense that like it would answer all my questions and stuff. So
Yeah.
mainly just like, okay, so who would I want to be most friends with?
Yeah, who would you want in your if you had a virtual friend that was there, who would you want them to be?
Elon Musk, maybe.
Elon Musk, huh?
I feel like his personality.
So he just
I like his
pop
humor
in,
a
and he'd
lot.
be like,
I like his humor a
"Hey,
lot.
William."
I love his humor. I think Elon Musk is hilarious. But he can also be very, very dry. Maybe Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks would be really, really cool.
Tom Hanks is on pretty high on my list as well.
Who's number one?
I don't know. That's tough. It's like if I had somebody. I mean, and
Wouldn't you want it to be like a Babe?
Yeah,
You know?
you'd yeah.
You're just like if it's gonna be
Just,
somebody
wow.
that only you could see, and she like the lust setting was just jacked to max, so your confidence was just beaming all the time.
But then would you? The problem with that is, would you desire would you have outside desires, or would you just die alone?
Oh well, so let's use that as an example, like porn right now. People have kids these days are having way, like not just a little, way less sex than they did 30, 40 years ago. Like way less sex. And that's because things like porn.
Mm-hmm.
You could be not completely satisfied because I think there's always that desire to have that human connection, which you'll never be able to recreate.
But if you have an AI of this hot babe,
But like if you can get pretty dang close and the stats don't lie, people are having way less sex now. Yeah. If we lived in this world that we're setting up, I would imagine that you probably don't really care that you don't have a real companion, right?
yeah, it'd be just like Blade
You could
Runner.
customize your companion to do whatever you want. They could look different every night, talk different every night, have a different opinion. You could have discourse, on different subjects with different opinions, like every night, and have
That's kind of scary. Like to think about
that level of customization.
that level of customization, and then just how isolated you would become because of it.
Look at how isolated we already are.
I know.
we
So
have
imagine you take that even further.
We have all the. That's why I think this metaverse stuff is so important, because people will always crave that real interaction, but everything we do enhances communication, but actually separates us further from this. You go hang out with anybody. If you're in a group of 5-6 people, half of them have their phone out at any given time. At any given time, it bothers me when I go to like people's houses and stuff. Like when I'm on this podcast, I don't touch it. I don't.
Yeah.
I have it's in my pocket. Well, yeah.
You're
well, you got chat going. You can't be missing that. But it's you go anywhere, there half the people are on their phones doing something.
Yeah.
Barely listening. We already are isolated. And all this is just going to continue that extension. And is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Both.
It's the future. We
We
just have to figure it out.
It's an unstoppable force moving in that direction until we figure out better ways around it.
Mm-hmm. I think Tom Hanks would be my number one.
I'm kind of liking the Babe route now.
But the Babe, like Anna de Armas, like Blade. I would just straight one up Blade Runner, like 24. I'm Ryan Gosling. I'm him.
I am him.
But and then just because, let's say Keanu Reeves, Johnny. I would have actually.
I have
Johnny
no
Silverhand.
interest in ever meeting Keanu Reeves.
They say he's a nice person though.
Oh, I'm sure he's the nicest guy, but I just I don't know.
So I mean, I guess you could also
looks
just
so
have
dull.
like generic guy. You could go wild. You could have an orc. Now that would be pretty cool. You could have a
Different species.
I would have a gnome. He'd be my personal servant. And he'd be a little gnome. That would be so cool. He'd pop up and he'd have an Irish accent and be like, "Top of the morning," and I'm like, "Hey,"
and he'd have big tits.
No. He would be ripped, and he'd inspire me to work out.
What would be his name? Patty?
No. That's too on the nose. His name would be. Let's see. He's a gnome. He's not a leprechaun, but he has a Scottish accent.
Mr. Gnome and all.
Gnome and all. No, his name would be Gary with a G. Gary. My name's Gary.
Just something super nonchalant.
And he's What would be your wild one? What
Well,
about you, Chad?
I would think I would honestly think that it wouldn't be an interaction. I think like the data would seamlessly feed
Oh, so you
into
would
my
just
brain.
you wouldn't want
Like, I would
like a
just-
physical.
Yeah. I would think, what's the weather? And immediately I would just know. Like, it wouldn't need to tell me. I would just know what the weather is.
But what if if that was the technology? What would be the weird one you want? Like, if you could get wild with it. I know you said a hot babe, but Golem?
No, I wouldn't want
He'd be like, the weather today is.
look out, there's traffic on 3rd Street.
You're like, oh, thanks, Golem.
Precious.
Frodo.
Yeah.
Samwise. Why, Mr.
One
William?
more step and you'll never.
Yeah. Mr. William. The weather today.
You see how much fun you're already having in a virtual world? None of this is real, and you're already like fantasizing about having so much fun.
Yeah, but this is like getting
Mhm.
to the level
Uh-huh.
of we need AI to be able to recreate a gnome that or Samwise Gamgee. You could have
What?
talking about Lord of the Rings. Who would you want the most from Lord of the Rings?
Oh, Gandalf. For
Yeah,
sure.
imagine that.
Like,
He pops up. You're like, Gandalf, what's the weather like? He's like, well,
yeah.
that'd be pretty cool.
The air doesn't smell so foul down here.
You're like,
It's
wow,
all right,
Gandalf."
you're right. I'm gonna go over here.
He's like, you need to work out more. Oh, okay.
I don't know. Like, I'd probably have like some like super motivational guy, like cream of the crop. What's that guy's name? Randy
Macho Man. Randy
Macho
Savage.
Man. You know, like, hey, brother.
Hey, brother William. The weather out today is
Get over here, dude. That'd be so fucking weird.
It'd be
dude.
fun though, right?
Yeah.
Like if we had an AI companion that we
Or
could,
like Loki in full costume of like constantly with this mischievous, like devious,
Ooh.
like good, bad, you know, like a devil over one shoulder. Angel
you don't know
over,
to trust him when
Yeah,
he tells you the weather
exactly.
outside,
Yeah.
or you ask him for directions and you're like,
and he stabs you. Snoop
Chat said
Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
There you go.
that'd be pretty funny.
Roll another blunt for me, bud. All right, sure.
You're like, okay, Snoop. Hey, how's it go? Ask him the weather. He's like, I don't know, man.
Hey, brother. That would be such a macho man. Cream of the crop.
That would. I really hope we get to that point. Like that part excites me, right?
We think about, let's just use the timeline of humans, all right? Like
Mhm.
in our current form. It's like 120, 150,000 years old. What a time to be born right now. We have it pretty fucking nice. I could take a hot shower every day if I want. I get to play video games. I get to talk on the internet.
And I mean, you could go even further that we're able to think about the possibility of that type of future, and it seems like it's
Within reach.
within reach.
Right.
Like the ancient Greeks, they did not talk about AI
No.
companions. They're like,
Dude, it was who they were going to try to fuck that weekend.
yeah. There's
What
an
else
orgy-
was there to do?
There's an orgy going down at the
Yeah, exactly.
Pantheon.
Let's all just bang it out, man. Unbelievable. Like, of all times to be born, I'd say this is pretty good. And then we got born in a pretty good country. And we're not getting bombed and all this crazy shit that's going on. I think we've got pretty fucking lucky, man.
Yep. We
Good
did.
for
We
us.
are lucky.
Look at us. Good for us. All right, brother. Where can people find us?
They can find us on Instagram, YouTube, any major podcast listening platform you listen to, such
That's
as Spotify,
Apple.
Apple, and Podcast
Addict.
Addict. As well as YouTube, where you're hopefully listening to us right now or watching us.
Yeah, we live stream these now.
Yes, every
and then make
Tuesday
'em a podcast.
at around 7. But yeah, come check us out. A lot of fun. And
Cool.
we like talking with you guys.
Hell yeah.
And remember, guys, with a good DK, you get
The K is still
Donkey
there.
Kong.
Huh? Bye, guys.